Namaste, my dear friends. Thank you and welcome to this session where we are going to explore a little bit more detail about the energetics of the Sanskrit letters and alphabet. So let us come together and share the pranava one time. Take a breath in. Shanti, shanti, shanti. And as you exhale, open the eyes and release the pose. When we think about the Sanskrit letters, and we've had our practice now for several weeks, so we've had an experiential experience with our chakra meditation. The most important concept for me about the Sanskrit alphabet is to understand the differentiation between the vowels and the consonants. Now, the vowels are known as Shiva vowels. The consonants are known as Shakti. Why is that? Shiva is pure consciousness. That means that it can stand all on its own. It can hold its vibration, its resonance. It's not bound by anything. So think about it. When we recite a, I, o, ru, aim, I'm, om, aha. It's not bound by any limits at the beginning or the end of that vowel sound. That's why they're called Shiva. Shakti consonants, they actually lend the limits and the parameters within which the resonance of the vowels can be sustained and vibrate. So they cannot stand on their own. The consonants need the vowels. The vowels don't need the consonants, but in Prakriti, they lend the limits, the parameters of their sound vibration. So let's look a little closer now. Let's look at the consonants. If you have the David Frawley book from some of our previous workshops, it goes into much more detail about each letter. I think in this workshop, I thought that was too much detail to go into, so I'm just looking at the first letter of each group. So let's look at the Guttural Group, which begins with the Ka sound, ka. This Guttural Group is characterized, it has a more masculine quality. It's a little more harsh. So it can bind the vowel sound with more of a power masculinity, and it is the power of to initiate something. It is the origin of something. It is the time, the space, the movement, focus, stabilization. But think of it more as a harsher defined parameter. Now, when we go to the palatal group, it starts with cha, 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 ja, ja, nya. Now I'm going to recite the guttural, ka, kaha, ga, gaha, na. So go ahead, you practice saying those two. And you notice a difference. Not only are the guttural pronounced further back in the throat, but there's more of a harsher sound. Whereas when the palatal group of consonants are pronounced a little further in front of the palate, there is some softness to the sound. So the palatal groups are known as having a feminine quality to them. They are the qualities more of emotion, vibration, and speed, and they serve to hold the forces of time and space of these vowels. They hold the forces here within the palatal consonants. So if you look at the David Frawley books, he gives a much more expansive description of what I just said on page 85. So remember, consonants are really holding the space within which the vowels vibrate. And the palatal do it in more of a feminine quality. They hold that space and they imbibe it with emotion and vibration and speed. Now, let's look at the cerebral and dental. The cerebral and dental in English start with the same sound, TA, but it's pronounced differently. I don't know if you can hear the difference, but this is ta, and this is ta, ta, ta. Just depending on where you're pronouncing it and where you're holding your tongue. The cerebral and dental group of consonants, they add the template, the structure, the foundation within which the vibration of the vowels are guided, let's say. So they help to stabilize and guide the vowel vibrations. The labial sounds starts with PA, pa, paha, bum, bahum, mum. They help to sustain the vibration of the vowels. So when we look at the role that the consonants play, they lend the power of sustaining, the power of structure. They lend the power of emotion and speed, and they lend the power of stabilization to these vibrations. So it's interesting, or I find it very interesting, when you start reading Sanskrit, whether you're looking at the Sutras of Patanjali, or perhaps you're looking at a short mantra. I look at the letters and I start analyzing it in terms of these templates. And it just lends another layer of awareness to my mantra chant. Now, I don't do it with all of them because it can get quite detailed. But what's interesting about the chakra workshop to date so far, you have seen that we look at the concept and the practice of a chakra workshop from a very general pullback perspective sometimes, and then we pull in and really look at details, and then we come back out. What are we doing? We're changing our perception and our level of awareness. It's always in sort of a movement. And as you do your practice every day, you'll find that you too will be experiencing that. At times you will feel a more expansive and pulled back observation and experience perhaps that day. In other days you feel something very finite and detailed. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I wanted to briefly touch on the relationship between the vibrations and the structure of the sounds of the alphabet in Sanskrit as it relates to your observance of the Purusha Mantra. So let's go back to our idea of Ayurveda. Ayurveda is based on the idea of prana and the nadi system and the chakra system. So we have prana running through the body. It runs through the different nadis, which all meet upon the Sushumna channel. The chakras are located on the Sushumna channel. The chakra system itself is the most subtle of the systems. Then you have the nadis, which is a little less subtle in terms of energy and manifestation and understanding the movement of the energy. Then you have the marmas, which are related to the nadis. Now, the marmas are regions on the body. The region can be as small as the point of your thumb, or it can be a bigger area. So when we are physically touching and bringing our mental focus in the recitation of the Sanskrit alphabet during the Purusha Mantra, we are actually bringing the focus to certain marmas. So, a, I, u. What am I doing? I'm touching and bringing focus to a nadi which may run up or down, but eventually it's going to link up to the central channel and to the chakra system. So I'm bringing my own awareness to that nadi and to that flow of prana, and I'm vitalizing that point. Now that point, that marma point, is connected physically to the physical body. So it's vitalizing the health of that tissue or the anatomical system at that point. But also on the subtle energy level, it's vitalizing and helping to do away with any obstructions to the flow of prana through that nadi, which then connects to the chakras, which then connects to the Sushumna channel. Okay? This is a brief explanation and description of some of these nadis so that you can see where they flow. Unless it comes up in one of our live Zoom sessions that you really want to go into detail, I'm just going to leave it here at this, and you can start making the connections, because I think this is a vast subject to cover, but it's quite interesting, really, really interesting. But I think I'll leave it here. But at least from this image, you can see the Sushumna channel running up the center of the body. You see where they depict the chakras and the different nadis, whether they're flowing from the feet up towards the Muladhara chakra, or from the middle of the body into the Manipura and the Anahata, or from the arms and limbs that come to the heart and the Vishuddhi, and then coming up into the head. You can see some of the directional flows of these nadis. But the important part to remember is the interconnectedness of the recitation of the Sanskrit letters with the vibration that they denote, to the focus on the body in the Purusha Mantra, which is the marmas, the nadis, the chakras, the Sushumna channel, spiritual awakening. These are some of the books that I took this session, the references from. Two of them are by David Frawley, and you may have these books already. The Ayurveda and Marma Therapy is a really detailed, I guess, textbook, you could say, on Ayurveda and Marmas and the connection with the nadi and chakra system. Whereas the Mantra Yoga and Primal Sound, it has a little bit more philosophy in the book, but it also is a how-to book on how to use Mantra Yoga. Ayurveda, The Divine Science of Life, this book to me is fantastic. It's quite a big textbook. It gives the philosophy of Ayurveda going, right back to the Vedas, so you really understand the philosophical foundation of Ayurveda, but then it gives very, very detailed descriptions about herbs and different Ayurvedic therapies. So it's a big book, but very, very good. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much. I hope that your practice is going well, and I'm looking forward to our live sessions where we share our experiences with one another. So let's end the session by sharing the pranava one time, bringing our hands together. Take a breath in. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in our next session.